Hello, and welcome to 6G World, where we explore what's happening at the leading edge of business, technology, and society today to make sure the next generation of services are fit for the world they find. Now, for years, 5G has been promoted as a generation of connectivity dedicated to the enterprise. And yet, although mobile operators have had enterprise divisions since the start, effective partnering with other industries has proved elusive for the telecoms industry as a whole. Now, today, I'm joined by two professionals whose companies are bucking this trend in very different settings to explore how this works for them and what we can learn for the road ahead. I'm pleased to welcome Akil Chomoko, CMO of MDS Global, and Albrecht von der Recke, co-founder and chief operating officer at fonYou. Thanks for being here, both of you.
Pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, historically, telecoms operators have struggled to work well with other industries, and yet you both work in situations that cross industry boundaries. I wonder, can you each give a brief introduction to what your company does and where the value for the telco comes from? Akil, I'll ask you first.
Yeah, sure. So Akil from MDS Global, we offer BSS solutions. We specialize in enterprise BSS designed for enterprise services and also for MVNO solutions globally. So we have a number of customers, both tier ones as well as all the way down to small MVNOs using our platforms today. To answer your question, first of all, yes, I mean, look, in the past, operators have typically sold quite discrete products. That's because they created those products, voice, data, SMS, list lines, unified comms. It was their products to create and offer. But now, as services from operators are no longer the end service, data connectivity is starting to enable many of the services offered by other vendors. They are having to partner and partner better going forward. And we see this quite a lot. So for example, in the Latin American market, we have a machine-to-machine provider that sells tens of thousands of machine-to-machine SIMs for point-to-sale card solutions. And with the permission of a bank and the vendors, they are able to use this data to understand the issues around transaction connectivity and fraud. And hence they created a new data product that looked after fraud and connectivity better, and they were able to charge a better market premium for those services, to the point that they're now selling POS solutions themselves to get an additional premium. So they captured value there from a data sharing partnership principle, right? Then we've seen another Mexican customer of ours tie up strategically with a security vendor. There they provide personalized connected security products in Mexico, where network connectivity is a problem and therefore network continuity is a critical element of that service. So this has become very much of a network partnership with the end sort of product, the security product. And I think we'll see more of that with the adoption of 5G going forward, in industry. Another example, Verizon. They offer a micro solar solution to villages across India, such that the villages only have to pay access to just electricity and internet and entertainment on a micro-charge basis. But this entire sort of partnership was enabled by a revenue-sharing agreement between one of the world's largest MVNO networks and Verizon. So that is very much of a commercial partnership. And it's more rewarding for all parties that way because they all take a larger share of the wallet. For the operator, they were going to get more money out of this than just trying to sell connectivity directly. So we've seen this trend, right? Enterprise services, operators tying up with enterprise business creators themselves and collecting premiums from things like in-network data processes, network privatization, co-creating commercial agreements, and we'll see more, I'm sure, going forward.
Great, thanks. And Albi, how about you? Can you tell us a bit about fonYou and how you see this developing?
Sure. fonYou is a company that works also together with telecom operators. Our mission is to help them to increase revenues, to accelerate, for example, the distribution of airtime by fully automating that part of their business using technologies such as cloud, such as machine learning. We're very much focused on markets which are still dominated by prepaid subscribers, where there's a lot of friction in the market, where a lot of customers still use physical channels and the engagement with the customer is not yet fully digitized. We have presence in Latin American markets, in Africa, Middle East, and are helping their carriers to do this journey towards a fully digitized and fully automated business model. For example, with one of our telco partners in Latin America, we have a solution where we connect to the core network. We analyze all the data that is running in real time, being generated by the users of that telco, and predict what is the best offer that can be made to that customer through multiple digital channels. And at the end, always try to get a transaction where the customer purchases, for example, a data bundle using an electronic payment means. In these countries, we need to take into account that bankarization is still at an early stage. Customers are using mainly debit cards as well as mobile wallets. Credit card penetration is still small, but we have this vision that this will grow, and there's a big number of users and people who will become banked customers, who will have an electronic payment mean and will be able to use their money when they're using the internet. They will be able, and they should be actually, customers of financial services and be able to decide when and how they use their money online. And this is one of the areas where telcos are definitely in a unique position and are ready and already showing how they're working in that area.
Great, thanks. So both of you are sort of using data processing and analytics to create service offerings that bridge those worlds. I'm just wondering, from a consumer or an enterprise perspective, how can you do that profitably? I mean, particularly if we're talking about low-income markets like India or Africa or Latin America. Albi, can you maybe start commenting there?
Yeah, I mean, the big challenge and what is different in these markets is that you need to be able to be profitable and have economically sustainable model for microtransactions. And if we want to onboard these next billion customers to a system where they bankarize, where they have an electronic payment mean, the operator can play a very important role, because with all the data that is running on their model, they can, for example, predict which are the customers who could be bankarized. They can build up a model at a big scale and reach out to those customers who are target for these digital financial services. And in order to achieve this and have a model that is economically sustainable, you need to drive down the cost of, for example, identifying which are these customers who should be target for this new bankarization wave. There, for example, we have worked with new technologies such as cloud, such as AI, which a couple of years ago were not available, and are able now to drive down cost. They're, for example, 10 times lower than what they used to be before, in order to identify these customers, engage with them through a digital channel, which is much more effective than relying on the physical channels, and provide them with services that are relevant for these customers. So, for example, we've seen collaborations between telecom operators and financial institutions where they are working together in order to get to onboard customers to digital financial services and provide them, for example, with microloans at decent rates, and provide them, for example, with the first financial score so they can participate in this financial system. Or, for example, by providing them with a mobile wallet. There are quite a few examples of these collaborations. So, for example, Orange has launched in Africa their mobile money initiatives. They already have more than 50 million customers using that. And that, for me, is an example of how you collaborate with partners such as banks, and at the same time use the data that users are generating on the networks in order to provide a system that helps to onboard customers to this fully digitized, automated system that provides financial inclusions for these customers. So in summary, cloud technologies or machine learning are definitely enablers that are critical in this part because they drive down costs. And in our case, for example, we must be able to process all these events. For example, on a typical network, we see more than 1 billion events every day at a millionth of a dollar cent per event in order to make this sustainable and be able to identify what is the right moment, what is the relevant user that should receive this offer jointly from the telecom operator as well as from a banking partner.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but Akil, what's your experience from the enterprise side?
Yeah, and you know, us as a BSS vendor, we're very much of the data processor in this, and really the operator and the end customer, that, you know, who's our partner, are really the data owners. So we have to be quite disciplined and strict around the policy of data privacy, and we take that quite seriously, and so do our customers. But with that in mind, we use data analytics primarily to help the performance of our customers who are our operators, yeah? And this tends to be sort of sit in about 5 key areas. And it's either around sort of churn and retention management, it's fraud and revenue assurance, it's service analytics to see if an operator is meeting their SLAs, or product performance, or sales channel performance. And every sort of business at the moment needs these sort of analytics to steer their business towards improving profitability. And that's really the goal behind a lot of the analytics we provide, is to improve the service and profitability for operators. And for low-income countries, churn management is typically one of the most important elements or features, let's say, for those countries. We've seen churn as high as 80% in some countries with some operators, which is crazy, right? So real-time predictive analytics for churn and retention is probably one of the most important features for that market. Second to that is probably revenue assurance. There tends to be a lot of fraud issues in those same countries as well, where that part of the functionality also kicks in quite well.
Great. Okay. So while we're talking about data, Akil, you mentioned privacy kind of in passing there, but in the last few years, we've seen quite a few high-profile data breaches and hacks across multiple industries. Albi, I can't help but wonder if you're seeing this trend reflected in fresh security demands, either from regulators or from clients that are contracting with you.
Absolutely. I mean, this is something that is becoming actually a C-level topic: cybersecurity, data privacy, and so on. For example, Vodafone, they reported very recently they're having more than 1,000 attacks every single week to their system. And this is something which we have to take into account when we're building these new systems, which are fully digital, where all the user information is stored either on the cloud or some servers, and where a lot of cybersecurity attacks do happen. And especially when you start to move and onboard customers from a physical channel with cash payments to a digital channel where everything is cashless, fraud, payment fraud, and specifically in our case, is a relevant issue. And we have been investing for some time into this, for example, using machine learning in order to prevent fraud when dealing with electronic payment and this, or into systems to protect user data. So this is definitely one of the, let's say, new topics we need to work on as an industry, which probably did not have that prevalence maybe 5 years ago. But now, as we're moving more into this fully digital space, it is definitely more and more relevant than ever.
Thanks, Albi. Akil, I'd like to sort of ping that question back to you as well, since you sort of mentioned the privacy in the first place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Data, both on a security level as well as on a privacy level, is critical for us to manage. And, us as a business, as a BSS business, we offer managed services around the services and the solutions we offer. So and right at the board level, we have a compliance environment where we are continuously being monitored for ISO 20001, for cyber essential plus policies, as well as ISO 22301 principles as well for business continuity. So that is right at the top of our business. It's part of every meeting we have to ensure we are operating and complying to that. And whatever data we do process or we keep is strictly done on the basis of agreements with ourselves and our customers, but also more importantly now, market regulation, like GDPR, for example.
Okay, so provided that the data can move as need be, as securely as possible, then looking at the analytics side, before we came on air, we were talking a bit about the use of machine learning algorithms and their optimization. I wonder, can you explain for our audience how these are being used to improve the customer experience today and where you see that leading in the future, Akil?
Yeah, sure. Yes, AI and machine learning is a hot topic today, right? It's in every periodical at the moment. But albeit, machine learning has been around with us for probably 4 or 5 decades. I mean, I remember doing machine learning when I was at university. It was at least 3 of those decades ago, right? So, but I think what's changed is that there's been a lot of progress being made with the algorithms. First of all, it's more timely. You can use cloud computing, real-time processing, in processing that data a lot faster to get what we call in-the-moment truths. Because you can have a lot more A/B and feedback loops nowadays, there's a lot more accuracy and trust in these formulas as well. And being able to access the right data, albeit privacy agreed, is also vital for these algorithms to work. And again, as I said before, the biggest areas that this works for us in terms of the solutions we provide are churn and retention management and revenue assurance. So for example, if a customer is using, for example, data at a lot faster rate than we've anticipated before, and we see a service is about to be terminated, in the enterprise market specifically, we try and get an authentication up to the financial controller of that account to ask them, do they want to extend the service, because anything else would terminate that service a little bit early and therefore maybe cause a business discussion to fail or something like that. So we try and use AI and predictive analytics to do those kind of things. For the machine or the IoT market, using profiling, we try and track unusual traffic patterns around a specific geography or particular type. And before high charges are generated, we send again notifications to the financial controllers to do something about that or see what the reaction is to that. We also use we use data to monitor SLAs to deliver enhanced business continuity in some of our services. So again, we can notify an end customer or an enterprise that the machine is not, it may be failing because not down to the equipment's fault, but due to connectivity. It's nothing worse than trying to pull apart a particular solution because you think it's that fault, but it actually is the connectivity, right? So all of this analytics is great, and we have used this in terms of enterprise services, but there's still plenty of room room to remove the human element from some of these equations. And I think as trust grows, we believe we'll see more of this happen going forward.
Brilliant, thanks. Albi, do you want to pick up on that as well about the customer experience?
Yeah, maybe to add also a different alternative of using the data, because the beauty of suddenly being able to work with all this data that users generate on a network in real time is to build an engagement with the customer that really motivates customer to use digital channel. I mean, if we speak about digitalization, it has to be user-centric. If it's not user-centric, it's not going to work, and people and users are going to continue using the traditional channels or the traditional way of engaging with customers. So as an example, when we work with a telecom operator and help them to fully automate and digitize the distribution of airtime, we have deployed a system which predicts when is the best moment to offer the customer a top-up or a data bundle, and which type of product should be offered to that customer, depending on the need that customer has in that very moment. And there, for example, we're using RCS, Rich Communication Suite, as a new channel. This is one of the channels that will be growing significantly over the next years. And we're able to identify in real time if a customer, for example, is on the street, he's trying to get an Uber, but he doesn't have any data. So the moment he gets on the Uber app, we identify that event, and in that very moment, profile the customer based on his historic data usage, on his historic purchases, and then define the best offer that can be made to that customer in that moment, because we know he's trying to use the app to get an Uber. And the event is relevant, and therefore we open this communication via RCS using a chatbot that engages with this customer and tries to provide a solution whereby he accepts, for example, a bundle or a special promo that can be offered by the telecom operator. He pays with a credit card or a debit card or any electronic payment mean. And as soon as the transaction is finished, which lasts typically a couple of seconds, he can continue using the Uber app, get his ride, and his problem has been solved in a meaningful way. So in all this process, there has been algorithms using the data, trying to understand what is the situation of the customer in that very moment, trying to figure out by analyzing the historic data, what is it that should be offered in a meaningful way to that customer, and then trying to close the transaction using a chatbot that presents an offer and then realizes or helps the customer to go through the transaction. So by using this, we're motivating, and actually we're getting very, very high conversion rates compared to other channels when they're using this fully digital channel and are being onboarded from the traditional physical point of sale to a fully digital experience.
It's astonishing listening to the pair of you talking about these kinds of experiences, and you know, how far it seems to have come in a few years. Now, I know we're getting close to time, but before we go, just as a final thought, I'd like to ask you about if that's how far we've come in a few years, how do you anticipate your companies and the markets that you operate in evolving over the medium or longer term? I mean, if you were going to lay bets, if you were betting men, you know, where would you put your money, Albi?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, everything that can be digital will be digital. I think this is a quote Nicolas Negroponte from MIT made 20 years ago. But this trend is unstoppable. It's happening, and I cannot imagine a telco offering their customers a service still through a physical channel. This is going to end because it has to end, and because it can be digitized. So that's the first important bet. The second one is, if we want to have something fully automated and fully digitalized, we need to be able to onboard customers to a digital financial system for them to use their money when they are on the internet, to purchase things or to get even a scoring, and by that get a loan. So this is from our point of view, one of the big challenges. How do we onboard this next billion customers to a fully digital financial system? And from fonYou's point of view, in terms of what are we doing, what is our strategy, our technology strategy is betting on exponential technologies, cloud, AI, digital customer engagement, in order to onboard and help carriers in these markets to work in this ecosystem together with partners. These can be banks, these can be big applications, the big digital players such as Facebook or Apple or Google, and help in this ecosystem to get people into this fully digital financial system with all the advantages that can bring for these people.
Brilliant. And Akil, what are you looking ahead to?
I completely agree with Albi. First of all, yeah, we'll see digitalization in anything and everything we do going forward. Absolutely. And look, we as a B2B or enterprise services BSS vendor, we are particularly excited by the 5G enterprise market. 5G is really designed for the enterprises, not really the consumers, I would say, and the services that end enterprises serve, right? So if we were to bet, we will see a lot more distinction between the different operator brands as they are today. You will see, some of them are fully digitalized, some won't be, but they'll be all moving towards that. But there will be starting to distinct or differentiate themselves, because they'll be focusing their network and their business resources around specific business models, whether it's just smarter connectivity, or others maybe moving or leaning towards more platform-based services to support specific verticals, or even then going on using the brand to acquire particular vertical areas and so link them into the brand. We'll see maybe all of those three things happen, and there'll be a clear distinction between the different brands that offer what kind of services to what kind of industry. So, that's what we believe is going to happen over the next 5 years. My only hope is they just don't treat this opportunity as just another G.
Yeah, that's well said. And we definitely need businesses unusual in the next few years, I guess. Now, honestly, I'd love to explore all of this a lot longer, but I'm afraid that we're up to time at this point. So thanks to you both, Akil and Albi. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Alex. It was a pleasure.
And thanks to you in the audience for staying with us. You should be able to find links and information on both companies below this video. And don't forget to stay tuned to 6G World. During 2021, we'll be bringing you dedicated news, research, videos, webinars and events to help you link today with the brighter world of 6G. So goodbye for now.